Let me call now the next plenary session. The subject will be the European Retail Payment Strategy, also known as RPS. And I'd like to call on stage Hervé Citruc, our chairman from France Payments Forum, and Nicolas Decèze, are also on the board of France Payments Forum, but also honorary director général of Banque de France, and former director général of IEDOM and IEOM. I would also like to call on stage, so Fabrice Denel, thank you. Fabrice is the Senior Vice President, Strategy and Partnership at Natixis Paiement. Natixis is part of the BPCE group, Banque Populaire Caisse d'Épargne, the second largest banking group in France. He's also a member of the SWIFT Board of Directors, as well as TET and Carte Bancaire boards. And he is a member of the European Payment Council and several bodies related to payments in France and in Europe. So thank you very much, Fabrice. And we also have two speakers from abroad by remote. So Eric Ducolombier, who is head of Retail Financial Services and Payments Unit at the European Commission since January 2019, and Javier Santamaria, who is, as independent, chair of both the European Payments Council and the IBERPay boards, and also member of the Supervisory Board of Western Union International Bank. He is also on the board of directors of Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation. So the stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Eric. Ah, Nico, excuse me. Oh. Thank you. C'est compliqué, ces objets. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Eric and Javier. Et merci, Fabrice, d'être des nôtres this afternoon. We now open the second panel about retail payment strategy. As you may recall, in April, this year, the European Commission launches two public consultations, one called a New Digital Finance Strategy for Europe, and the other one called a Retail Payment Strategy for the EU. Quite naturally, our association, France Payment Forum, was among the respondents to the consultation on the retail payment strategy, so that we were even more interested to see the result of that consultation. And now the RPS is published, and we will be very interesting in the main conclusion of this consultation. Maybe Nicolas could open this panel.
Thank you, Hervé. Good afternoon. The mic works? Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to have eminent panelists, three eminent panelists with us, two on a remote and here, one with us here, to exchange views about the retail payment strategy. So, to make it very short, may I suggest that we organize the discussion in three rounds. First round would be about the RPS itself, and then second round about the way forward, and third round with a very short last message that you might have, the three of you. So, may I start with Eric? Please, Eric, could you please make us a synthesis of the retail payment strategy document and also the response to the public consultation which was launched last April by the Commission and to which a number of us have, of course, responded. Thank you very much, Eric.
Nicolas, thank you. Hervé, and good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to be in Brussels and not in Paris with you, but I think you all know why and appreciate the circumstances. But I'm nevertheless delighted to be remotely, but still closely part of today's discussions. So, yes, the retail payment strategy, which the Commission adopted on the 24th of September, is, if you want, the 25-page long outcome or fruit of this long consultation process that we launched in April of the year. And we have received, I'm very pleased to report that we have received almost 200 contributions, which were all of an excellent quality, and you can find on the Commission's website the actual contributions themselves, and you can also find a summary made by the Commission about the contributions received. So we have tried in this inevitably short document to cover all the many issues, subjects, topics that we believe are relevant in the field of payments. And you can tell me if we have successfully done so or not. That's not up to me to judge. But what I can tell you is that the intention behind this strategy is to maybe first and foremost acknowledge publicly, officially, the fact that payments have become strategic for all the many reasons that have been already mentioned today at your conference and in the opening speeches earlier today. Payments have left for good and probably forever the obscure back office, rooms of plumbing and infrastructures, which are of course very respectable and respectful activities, but payments have become higher on the political agenda, and not only of the Commission but also of the ECB, as was made very clear by Ulrich Binzel earlier today. So with this document, we wanted to clearly indicate what we believe should be the main priorities, the main issues, the main strategies that the EU should put in place in order to meet our aspirations, our expectations, which is to be able to provide to every single European, be it a private or a company or public authorities, to give them cheap, state-of-the-art payment solutions, which of course work cross-border. As has been already said earlier today, it is unfortunately not possible to cross borders with a payment solution outside the product which are put to our disposal by non-European companies, which also are absolutely respectable, but no one will dispute the fact that their center of decisions are not in the EU. So we want really to contribute to this strategic reflection. We are only one player, we are the Commission, but an important one. But we want with this strategy to really place payment at the forefront. And we hope that this call, this plea even, will be picked up at the highest political level in Europe, at national level, at EU level. And I was very pleased to follow the discussions of the ECOFIN yesterday, which for once were broadcast publicly. And those who, like me, watched this could see a very, very broad political support at the ECOFIN level to both the digital financial services strategy of the EU and the retail payment strategy of the EU. That is good, that is excellent. That's, if you want, a first aspect of our mission, which is accomplished, which is bringing the payments file at the highest political level, the one which it really deserves. So now, if you look at the payment strategy itself, you will see that it is indeed a rich, dense document, which I'm not going to comment at length, because people, of course, it is a public document that people can read, but you will see that it is basically structured around the 4 pillars on which we have structured our public consultation, namely payment solutions, payments markets, payments infrastructures, and payments in the world. And for each of these 4 pillars, we have indicated with where we could do that with a timeline, what we believe should be done. And you will see a few, if you want, a few highlights in this strategy, a few focus put on, this is not a surprise, on instant payment, for example, where we do call for instant payment, probably stronger and louder than we ever did, because we do believe in instant payment as having the capacity to serve the political and economic objectives that we have. So you will see also a very strong call for the emergence of homegrown, home meaning the EU, homegrown pan-European payment solutions. And we've just heard the panel on EPI, and you can see, and you know that, we in the ECB, we've been very supportive of the EPI, and we are following with utmost attention the development of the project, which we have seen mushrooming, emerging from the very beginning, and with which we are continuing to dialogue. So, but we are very supportive of that, and we are supportive of any EPI-like other solutions that might emerge. I mean, we are very happy to have, a sudden surge of pan-European solutions. That would not be a bad thing, and that would be even showing the dynamism and the innovative, if you want, spirit of the EU there. So we also dedicate some paragraphs to digital versus cash. I mean, we wanted to put it on record, if you want, that we are not in the Commission calling for a phase out of cash. We are advocating at the same time the accessibility and availability and usability of cash, which still remains an important means of payment for people, or many people in the EU, whilst at the same time betting very much on the development of digital. And in that respect, we do not see that as two antagonist objectives. I think it is possible to, at the same time, support the one in the other. We've also clearly supported the efforts from the ECB about the development of a central bank digital currency or a digital euro. That is also very clearly said in our paper. We've also strongly supported or renewed our support to, if you want, the PSD2 objectives, and we are very much expecting that PSD2 is already, but will continue to be a very strong driver for innovation and competition. That being said, we are happy to already think about opening maybe another chapter of data driven business models, which could be relying on the PSD2 concept, but maybe going beyond. We are also ready for that in due course, of course, when all lessons will have been drawn. We are also calling for strong customer protection, which I think is obvious. If you think about instant payment, it has a lot of benefits. Everyone knows that and can sense that, but we don't want that to be done, of course, at the detriment of the people, of the users, of the consumers. That is also strongly defended in the strategy. We are on infrastructures, and I will conclude there. You can see that we are very much aware of the importance, especially for instant payments, of making the various infrastructures interoperable, the national ones with the pan-European ones, because we know that one of the obstacles to the reachability of instant payments is precisely the difficulties that banks have to, to be reachable via a smooth and seamless connection to clearing and settlement solutions. So this is, of course, very important. We support the efforts of the ECB there. We'll also see important developments in the strategy about the access to technical infrastructures. We really want competition there to be, state of the art. We know that there are some situations in the EU, in some countries where, access to technical infrastructures, which are key for, designing and launching payment solutions, can be probably can be improved. And we are thinking whether there would be merits in having something similar designed at European level. And that's also a debate that we are opening with our strategy. I will not say more. There will be, of course, a lot more to say, but this is only my introductory remarks. There will also be interesting things to say on remittances, on cross-border, cross-border beyond the EU payment solutions. But I'm happy to come back to that in the course of our debate. So thank you very much. Handing back the floor to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Javier, may I ask you to react to the RPS, please?
Okay, first, let me say that I am the first one in feeling miserable for not being able to be with you in Paris, but we are subject to conditions and circumstances. And it's a privilege to be the first one in reacting to Eric's introduction. First, let me compliment him and satisfy him in saying that the RPS, the document issued a couple of weeks ago, I think it was very much welcome. So I think the reaction, not only mine and people in my surroundings, in general terms, I think the reaction has been very positive. I think it was needed. It comes in the best possible moment. In these times of uncertainty, having this strategy that we can discuss, that we can analyze, that we can even complement or deploy in due time, I think it comes very nicely in today's situation. So first, let me also acknowledge that I agree very much that payments have become strategic. That's one thing. The other thing Eric didn't mention, but I think it's worthwhile saying, is that in Europe, the foundations are good enough. I'm not saying that we are the best of the possible worlds, but if you compare to other regions in the world, the European payments are at the leading edge in technology. It's a very dynamic and innovative area. Payments do not constitute a problem at all. Citizens can enjoy excellent payment services. And for instance, during this crisis, payment systems, I think, have provided a very secure and valuable services for the society at large. So it's good. My first reaction when a couple of weeks ago I read for the first time the document, I thought, well, it's 20-something pages long. It will be a piece of cake. Well, after reading it the first time, I had to recognize that I needed a second reading, a thorough perusal, because it's full of content. As Eric said, it's very dense. It contains a lot of things. I wouldn't say it is too ambitious, because I think with some kind of realism, the Commission is aiming to the stars, maybe with the secret goal to get at least to the moon. So, but nevertheless, there's plenty of things that will keep us busy in discussing and trying to implement in the future. So that's an excellent starting point. So my first. Second, I have to also become a realist to a certain extent. It's just a starting point. So we have not even a recipe, we have a list of ingredients. So we have to do a lot of things. The proof will be in the tasting, like with the pudding. But it is an excellent starting point to discuss and to see what else is needed beyond the what's. We need to discuss also the how to get there, what are the precedences, what conditions should be met, and also to agree on the timelines. I think that's also something that is critical, but this probably belongs more to the way forward to the next stage. So for the time being, I will end my first intervention by saying also that it is very relevant that the retail payments strategy comes as a part of a larger package, which is the digital finance strategy for Europe. Because payments being strategic, they are not isolated, they resonate in many other areas, and some of those areas, neighboring areas to payments, are somehow also analyzed and discussed in the retail finance strategy. Many of the critical obstacles or conditions to be met by this retail payments strategy are also mentioned and analyzed in the larger package retail finance, and you have to bear both in mind to, in many occasions, understand what is said in one, because there are other conditions being mentioned in the bigger picture, which is the retail finance strategy, which is also an excellent document. So a lot of documentation coming from the Commission, still digesting them, but my overall and first reaction would be that it is very much welcome. I think there is a lot of knowledge in those documents, and that we need to go through them in detail in the forthcoming weeks.
Thank you, Javier. Let me give the floor to Fabrice. Fabrice, are you also that happy with the RPS?
Thank you, Nicolas. First of all, let me say hello to my fellow panelists and friends, Eric and Javier. We're missing you in Paris, but that's how our lives are today. And also a warm welcome to all the remote audience. So back to the paper. You know, I'm getting older and older in payments, but I have to say that this time, this paper issued by the European Commission is really containing a lot of things, truly Europeans, probably to achieve or to be in the best position to achieve this European market for payments as a complementary of the European Union. What I mean by that is that for sure it embraces a lot of things, a lot of issues, a lot of streams to be discussed and to be tackled, and it's great to see that. For example, we've been discussing quite a while on whether we should make interoperable domestic schemes and so on, and now we see here in that paper that we are positioning things at the European level. This is not an insult to what has been done in the past by the domestic schemes or domestic infrastructure and so on, but it's just a matter of ages. These domestic solutions were very helpful and efficient at a time in the past, but now we need to do something new because the world has changed, because now we need to build Europe, we need to be stronger, and we need to be strong enough in a global world with other very dominant players. So that's just an example, but shows that this paper, as it is truly European rooted, I would say, is more than welcome in my view as a banker and having in my portfolio all the strategy for payments for my group. If I take one second my hat of yes, banker of representative of BPC in the steerco of EPI, for sure noticing that probably for the first time ever a paper coming from the European Commission is so positively and directly supporting an initiative from the industry is really something great. And I would say this is just a continuity, Eric, you know that, of what we have begun to do in, let's say, partnership mode, cooperative mode, discussions, and even trust in the last months. Trying to build together the best project, the best possible project for Europe. But this is a support from the Commission for a private initiative, which also shows us that probably we are moving the right way. if I take my hat off as a SWIFT board member, I have to say that it is also the first time that I see the Commission saying, well, there is another strong initiative in the payment industry with SWIFT, with GPI. GPI is the, let's say, a modernization of the old correspondent banking stuff, making it real-time, very smooth, and so on worldwide. And having the support from the European Commission to that project is also something very nice, as we, as the board member of SWIFT, with SWIFT, we are trying to embark the future for account to account, not only in B2B space, but also in the retail space. And to that extent, probably, we can have additional discussions between any like EPI European initiative or instant payment initiative. And if we want to be more sovereign, we have an alternative at the international level, not only relying on partnership with other brands for cards, but also account to account with probably GPI and things like that. Last but not least, I don't want to be too long. If I take a look more broadly at the paper, I would pretty much encourage the European Commission to continue the dialogue and not to go immediately with solutions or decisions. Let me take one example. You've mentioned, for example, that there is a lack of standardization of some stuff like QR codes and so on. Probably yes, probably no. There are standards at the international level. And as Laurent said earlier in this room, sovereignty is not a narrow concept. Sovereignty, in my view, doesn't mean nationalisms or Europeanisms. I don't know if this word exists, but anyway, you know what I mean. Sovereignty means that we do not always need to build something proprietary because the others are doing so. Sovereignty means that we need to be strong enough to influence the global standards at the worldwide level, together with the US, with the Chinese guys, with all the Asians. And this is also something that is very strong in my view, and we need to tackle that.
Thank you very much, Fabrice, and also thank you very much because we did not have to make use of the bell because you were perfect. You were excellent at timekeeping. No, you performed very well, the three of you. So now, second round of discussion, the way forward. Here I have to take my notes because in the title of the RPS document is, quote, communication from the Commission to the European Parliament, the Council, the European Economic and Social Committee, and the Committee of the Regions. And then the last sentence of the document reads as follows. The Commission encourages all stakeholders at national and EU level to engage actively in the implementation of this strategy. So first, Eric, could you please explain what are the next steps? And then I will ask Eric and Fabrice and Javier to react to this way forward.
Only 3 minutes, Eric, please. Excuse me.
Yes. The next steps, well, there are many of very different nature. From a political point of view, you are right that this strategy is addressed to the other institutions. And I already mentioned a few moments ago that the EU Council of Ministers, the ECOFIN, already discussed it in the context of the digital financial services package. They already discussed it yesterday. And so that's already a great achievement because they were, as I said before, very supportive. And that's for us a very encouraging thing because we're not going to be able to do all this on our own. First, we don't want to, and we cannot. We are the Commission, we have our powers, but others have other responsibilities and competencies. So we want to do that collectively in a very inclusive way with the political sphere and also with the private sector. Those who know me, and there are many in the room, including on the panel, know that I like to engage with stakeholders, public, private, companies, consumers, users, and my door is open and I intend to continue this permanent dialogue. We don't want to build this strategy against anyone. There might be a few choices that we will make which will probably not be the ones that others would have taken. You know, that's absolutely inevitable. But what I want to reassure everyone about is that we are going to continue having an inclusive approach where everyone plays their role and is entitled to voice their views, and even if these views are concerns or positions. I'm not calling on anyone here publicly, but I would like this package and this strategy to be well received also on the European Parliament side. It's a very important player, of course, so I would like them to engage with us on that. There will be a lot of things to do together, and not only in their capacity of co-legislators, if one day we were to put proposals on the table, but also to contribute in the shaping of the policy and in the identification of the priorities. The ECB, of course, everyone knows that we are working closely with them on that. We fully acknowledge each other's roles and competencies in the field of payments, and the ECB's roles and prerogatives are considerable, and we are obviously almost on a quasi-daily basis engaging with the ECB on all this. So what next? Well, what next is continue the dialogue, get the buy-in of everyone, public and private, and start implementing this. These 25 pages contain actions with different timelines of different natures. There might be some legislation, there will be some studies, there will be some, some other forms of work. So there will be work for everyone for quite a few years, and this is what we intend to do. This is not meant to be a nice paper which will, which will accumulate dust on a shelf. We want that to be a blueprint. We want that to be almost a roadmap for EU payments, so that everything we do in the next 5 years, you can say, well, you see, it was page 12 of the strategy. This is what we meant there, and this is what we are doing now. So no one can be surprised. It was announced, and now it's been done. So that's what we want to do: engage, dialogue, and implement.
Right. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Nicolas. Let me mention probably two things. One is, let me elaborate more on what I said regarding regulation. I really encourage the European Commission not to regulate too early, and leave the floor to the payments industry to build their own solutions. And for sure, if there is a lack of it, then the regulation can come. And it's really important to support that view, because if we are, as banks or payments players or actors, with a heavy, let's say, weight of amount of investment nowadays with this crisis, for which we need to recover and play a role to make the economy stronger, when we have to achieve the PSD2, which is not completely achieved in terms of implementation, we've spent millions for that. Please try to avoid to put on our shoulders additional, project which could divert and make diverging the investment and ultimately weaken the EPI project, because you all know that this will be extremely complex, expensive, and so on. But we need to do that. So that's the message. Please, let's discuss. Let's avoid to regulate, and to another extent, making regulations too early also means that we take the risk to kill the innovation. So let's move that way. Second thing, on the contrary, we need the regulators to tackle some additional stuff for instant payment, for example. I pretty much support the fact that the paper is based on the future for account-to-account, instant payment based, and so on and so on. But For sure, there are numbers of issues that have already been tackled, but there are at least two additional ones. One is on the business model. As someone said earlier during the API panel, as long as we do not have a sustainable business case for all the parties in this very two-sided market, for sure there will be no takeoff of instant payment. That's for sure. The regulation has said many years ago that interchange fees have to be, let's say, restricted to cards only. Probably it was at one time when mass payments were only cards, and when fund transfer were dedicated to marginal use cases. But this is something we need to review. As long as we don't have this business model, this will be extremely difficult for players to invest in. The second stream for which we need your help, yes, I will be very short, is on the compliance stuff and sanctions and obligation of FATF filtering and so on. You know that there is no harmonization at the EU level, meaning that every state, when it comes to using, for example, tips for instant payment and so on, we have to filter from France to Spain, from Spain to Germany, and so on and so on. And for that, this creates a huge difficulty when it comes to instant payment. Why? Because we have numerous false positives, as you can imagine, and we cannot even explain to the consumer why it doesn't work because of regulations. We cannot tell the truth, if you like. So we can just say, well, it doesn't work, please retry. And it means that immediately, with this kind of zapping behavior, the consumer will use something else. So if we want instant payment to take off again, please help us to resolve that compliance stuff, because we here have an influence, including from the external parties, OFAC and so on, within the EU because of the obligation that are on our shoulders.
Well, thank you, Fabrice. So these are two strong messages. Javier, please.
Yeah, I will be very brief. First, I think that we will receive very positive signals, because I think the first need is that of communication, but not communication among the institutions, which is the easy part, but to the public. And I see that, for instance, the engagement of Eric today, and even for the ECB, this Monday will be organizing another event to talk and to discuss the payment strategy. I think that explanations to all partners is very much needed. And as Eric was saying, it is needed because we need to agree on what specifically is being said, because if not, we run the risk of understanding different things out from the very same text. So first is that of communication, and I feel that there we are on safe rails. Out of communication, I think we need to identify first leadership, so Commission probably taking ownership of the development and the evolution of the strategy, and cooperation, as Eric was saying, we need to gather all efforts. And here I would like to send a message of maybe a caveat or of some alert, because for cooperation to take place, we need all parties to be winners. So all of them need to be winners. And for them, we need to define responsibilities, tasks, timelines, the house they must deploy or they must perform their task. And here I think that while I agree with Eric that sometimes even when apparently there are conflicting objectives like physical cash and digital cash, well, there is maybe room for both. In some other occasions, we face like Solomon's judgment. So it's a baby being claimed by two mothers. You cannot split the babies. You have to decide it goes to one mother or to the other. And sometimes we will have to face those situations which are nasty maybe, but we have to deal with them in a context in which all cooperative parties will have to be winners, will have to get a gain. And if not, maybe we need to enlarge the scope so that they can bring some other conditions, some other variables, and they can be winners as well. At the end, we will need to define how resources are being utilized, and those resources will need a return. And have to make tough decisions how the produce, how the fruits will be distributed and split and enjoyed by everybody. But for the time being, I think we are on the right track, that we are communicating, that we are still trying to understand and to get the same message out from the strategy, which is the very first step we need to take.
Okay, thank you very much, Javier. Just now we have 8 minutes to conclude. So 2 minutes or a little more, but not just. Could you give us some word about what is for you the next step? We have a PST2 and now we have the RPS. What could be the next step for, in your point of view?
For me, the question?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Only 2 minutes.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's very pertinent. I think that, although PSD2 and regulation belongs more to the turf managed by Eric, but I can at least think that I am in front of a Jenny with a lamp and I can pose my 3 wishes. So for the way forward and even, for instance, for the review of the PSD2, which is due next year, I think the PSD2 foresees an assessment by the Commission to be brought by January 2021. Maybe it's a bit longer, but for sure at the Commission they are working on this assessment. Even maybe it's being presented a bit later, but not too far in the future. For the next steps, I would pose 3 wishes. First, maybe in the last period, we have had a bias on competition policy, the PSD2 content on how to enlarge the market with new services, with new players, strengthening competition. I think that was okay. I think the fruit is a good one, a positive one. We have progressed a lot. We have progressed less in the integration of the financial markets, in particular in payments, and probably we need more content on industry policy for the next steps. That's my first broad analysis. Second, probably, and this will follow a thought by Fabrice, probably we need more harmonization in areas not within payments, but in connected areas. And here, of course, it's all these AML and all the red tape administrative issues. But there are other very important areas which are mentioned in the finance, digital finance strategy. For instance, digital identity. In digital identity, we need to progress a lot. And another example could be open banking. In the digital finance, there is a mention on open finance. I think we should enlarge the scope and talk about open data, so it goes even beyond the finance world. So, but this is, I know it's troubled waters, but we are talking about data and information, and it should not be constrained to the finance world. And finally, a request or a claim to simplicity. Try to make things simple. If there is the need for some regulation, try to do it so that 2 other pieces of regulations are repealed, as it was an example in some other jurisdictions. Try to make it simple and not to add too much, and this is also a message by Fabrice, not to add too much red tape and regulations on top of the actors. I think there is not a problem on the industry itself. Of course, we need to be led to a different future, but I think that everyone is willing, and it is not that any actor is rejecting the idea of going through that passage up to the next stage in the future.
Thank you. Eric, we have all read the paper of the ECB about the digital euro. We have seen that they said that it is not obliged to change the treaty, but there are some legal aspects. The ECOFIN have put the digital euro in the agenda, your own agenda next. And what is the position of, very shortly, the position of the European Commission on this legal aspect of the accompanying of the digital euro?
With,
2 minutes.
In the retail payment strategy and in the digital financial services strategy, and hopefully the words are carefully aligned, we've expressed strong support for the ECB's initiative to develop a digital euro, which until recently was called a central bank digital currency. We are supportive of the objective. We see the importance of it. We watch the initiatives which are, being launched at national level in some countries, and even sometimes in the private sector. So we believe that indeed the ECB is right to put this topic on the table, not as a competing solution to EPI, or not as a competing solution to cash, but as a complementary payment solution, which will find its market. Really, we've, as you can guess, we've carefully read and analyzed the reports of the ECB, and we believe it is a very sensible report, which puts absolutely all the focus on all the questions, the issues. It asks the right questions, and it, in our view, forces the right process. With a series of steps, including a public consultation, which I think will be launched on the 12th of October already. So all this is going into the right direction. The paper also, as you maybe hinted, Hervé, the paper does also present the legal aspects of this, different, the different possibilities, if you want, of legally, interpreting the text. So that's indeed an important dimension. I will not open the debate on who has what powers to do what, but at least the questions are there, and they will be proper thinking by the legal services, in our institutions, and I'm pretty sure that there will be excellent conclusions of this. So very, very supportive. The Commission is very supportive of this process, of which we are in a way part, because we've been reflecting on this with the ECB, and this is exactly what we reflected in our strategy paper. So yeah, I will probably limit myself to these comments, but of course it is a story to be continued. It is only the beginning.
Thank you. Fabrice?
Yeah, as a European citizen, I have a lot of respect for this very project. I mean, the digital euro. I understand the rationale, which is for sure access to central bank currency is key when banknotes are less used and the world is moving more digital. Same thing for CDBC. I understand the rationale. We had a kind of a wake-up call when Libra was proposed, and with some risk of disintermediations, not only for players or central banks, but also a kind of additional dominancy of US dollar to some extent. So I understand the rationale. As a banker and a payments player, I have heard the words from Madame Lagarde, for example, explaining that we need to assess to which extent this new digital currency would have impact or not on the payment systems, and then this is one of the reasons why I'm let's say I don't have concerns, but I'm very keen to understand more how this can work together and avoid that. For example, digital euro has a huge impact on EPI roadmap and investment or competition, even competition. Same thing for CDBC regarding GPI. I don't know exactly what will be the rationale and how it works together, but it is key. When we have the regulator like the ECB, as a regulator, overseer, policymaker, it's difficult when they become player as a competitor, and I would like to avoid that they become player. Otherwise, there is a kind of mix between the different hats, and it's never good for the market and for the private initiatives.
Thank you for all. Thank you, Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Fabrice. And now we could pass to the next round table. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.